to be like, and just start dancing to you.
That would be terrifying.
And would it be terrifying? I mean, for sure, the first time it would be very terrifying. But, like, every time after that, it'd be adorable.
No.
I think adorable is the right word.
I don't think you know the meaning of words. You're as bad as our president.
Not true. I know what coffee means. Is that what we're talking about? Because I'm sure he wouldn't have done anything in the last 24 hours to make any of us Americans look terrible and awful.
Oh, you didn't see his press conference this afternoon?
No, I absolutely did not, because I avoided it like the plague.
Did you see his one in Helsinki yesterday? Well, then you're missing out on.
I just saw everybody was like, "Well, we're fucking idiots because that guy is in charge of us."
Yeah, and then he tried to walk it back this afternoon by being like, "I misspoke because I didn't want to use a double negative." I was like, "Bitch, you don't know what a double negative is. Don't you ever try to walk it back."
I mean, at least there's progress. We're getting in to admit fault. We've done that once out of the last 2 years, I guess.
Yeah, it's because, like, even Fox News is like, what the fuck did he just do? Like, everyone was like, oh my god. It's so bad. I hate everything.
Son of a bitch. Tight ship. Tight ship around here. America, everything. We're all running well.
Going great. We're not screwed.
So, hey, friends. Welcome for the second attempt. Seems like YouTube's and Google's running a lot better, smoother than Instagram, so we'll run with it. Did you happen to get everything watched that you were supposed to watch?
Pretty sure. That's my answer every week because I watched it so far apart I forget what we're even watching sometimes.
It's true. Okay, so we have Skyscraper, The Endless, How It Ends on Netflix. You didn't get to see Sorry for Bothering You, right?
No, and don't you say a fucking word.
No, trust me. That conversation is gonna happen once you see it. I can't fucking wait for you to see it.
It's opening in more theaters this weekend. Wednesday, I'll see if it's opening here. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna go to Omaha and see it.
I was like very close to saying like you should probably make a 5-6 hour trip to see this movie so we can talk about it, but I don't want to pressure you. It's fine. And then we watched Mr. Rogers and the second episode of Sharp Objects. So this should be it. You got them all watched?
Yeah, of course.
Nice. Good work. Good work on everybody's behalf.
I even watched that other one you told me about. The Deer Hunter guy.
What's that? What one?
The Deer Hunter one.
Oh, son of a bitch! See, I thought we were going to do that for this week, so I didn't get it watched.
Don't watch it. You're fine. Don't watch it. It's really not good.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's start there. How great was that? I thought it was supposed to be just like a slapstick, like, kind of like a Ricky Bobby type movie.
It's not. So, yeah, don't.
Son of a bitch. Like, this is where the problems start, is because this only makes me want to see how much of a train wreck it is then. And then I come back next week and be like, yeah, you were right. It was real bad. It was very open house-esque bad.
Are you trying to say that I influence your opinions? You got to see stuff before I tell you they're bad so I don't influence you? Is that what you're saying? No, it's, I was excited. I was like, oh, shit. It's a Jody Hill movie. You know, he did Observe and Report and Fistfoot Way and Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals, and him and Danny McBride co-wrote it. Then you look into it and you're like, oh, that movie was made 3 years ago and it's been shit sitting on a shelf and no one. Yeah,
as soon as you say that something's been shelved for a few years, it's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
This is where we run into problems where I'm not a fan of.
I think there's a way that, because if you look in the past stuff they've done, like they, you know, the whole point of everything they've done is the idea of toxic masculinity and how like being a man is actually like ruining the idea of manhood, and like how these are ideals that need to be put away and actually, you know, like, and the whole point of Eastbound and Down is like to show how the ideal American man and what he's shooting for is, you know, terrible and awful, and they're all kind of shitty and they need to do other things. Like, that's what that is. And I think there's a commentary that could have been made within this gun culture in the film, but they don't. You know, like the NRA is all like, you can't take the Second Amendment. We need rights to, you know, it's a growing block of foundation in a boy's life, and it's family values. And they don't touch any of that in this movie. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go hunting, and my kid's really annoying, and it's very soft. Like, for what you consider what those guys have done before, like, you edit out a couple F words, and that movie's PG-13. Like, it's not really, like, Brolin commits to the role, and that's probably the only reason it works at all in any way. Danny McBride plays the straight man, which is not what I really want from Danny McBride.
Ever. Ever. Huh. Well, that sucks. I guess I don't have to worry about that one. I'll just I'll take you at face value for that one.
Fair enough.
What'd you think of Sharp Objects then? Let's get right into it.
It was another good episode.
Yeah, it was.
I really like the show, but I think this is confirmed. Like, excuse me, like definitely like touch base at the end of the season. Like, it's. Yes. I don't think there's anything in this that we didn't discuss last week. So.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna come with. I was like, kind of want to wait for the end of the season and then do like a whole wrap up, because I feel like it'll be very mosaic where we're going to lose integral pieces along the way if we go week to week. So I think binge it at the end is the way to do it.
Or if something happens.
Yeah, it's fair. Also, one quick question. So they showed her car and it was keyed into. At one point, did it say scared? And then another point it said sacred?
Maybe. Like, I saw it say sacred, but I didn't catch it the first time. They're doing very quick cuts. Like, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, because scared would have been the first time they showed it, I think.
Which was such a quick cut, I couldn't make it out.
Yeah. But it also could be that thing where they do a quick show to like grab your attention and be like, oh shit, what was that? Because they'll actually show it later. Like how they did with Emma in the first one, off to the side. And like, I'm sure it just said sacred, but this show. I'm excited for it, for sure.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely be watching it, but you know, I just don't think there's anything that we didn't talk about last week. You know, it's still very it's very very lived in. You know, the world feels real, but it was kind of, well, what sucked was like this was the more procedural episode within it. Like the first episode was very character based, and this one, not that there's not, but it was very much like, here's how we're setting up the mystery. Like, here's the suspects in the murder. Here's how the bodies were found, what happened to them, you know, kind of setting that stuff up.
Yeah. I mean, I have the same notes. It was like, I think we're just expanding on what we knew from last week. Let me see if I did have any.
And
yeah,
you know, like
putting notes down because.
And like even last week we were talking about how I was saying how the editor, I felt like he sent her home to deal with their demons. Like it was more about that than the report. And then this episode, he pretty much just comes out and says it. You know, like she's got to get over her shit, and that's what we're doing. Like just kind of reiterating stuff from and spelling more stuff out from the first episode.
Yeah, so if you don't have HBO, wait for another month and a half, and then all 8 episodes will be down, ready for you to binge. But good show.
Or just get HBO.
So let's jump from there and let's go with Skyscraper. Let's just straight into Skyscraper. I thought this was going to be the big one for the week. Well, let's get into it, and I'm sure. How'd you like it?
Probably not as much as you liked it. I bet you loved this, didn't you?
Did you see San Andreas?
No. God, no.
And you still haven't seen Jumanji?
No.
So all you're going off is Rampage and Baywatch the last 2 years? I think that's all he's done, right?
The Fast movies, I don't know. You see The Rock fucking everywhere.
Oh, yeah. This is just your average Rock movie.
Yeah.
I wasn't thrilled by it, but I'm not disappointed that I saw it. It's just a Rock movie. It's definitely not the Die Hard movie everybody made it out to be, I guess.
I did feel it felt enough like sacrilege to try and compare anything to Die Hard, but it feels like a mix of, Die Hard and The Towering Inferno, but doesn't commit to either aspect of it. It's weird. It's very weird. That might be that has to be the dumbest terrorist plan ever, though, right? Like, we're gonna burn the building down and then jump off, like.
Yeah. So, a couple quick notes is what were the robbers going to do once they grabbed his tablet? I mean, everybody knew that it needed this face scan.
They hacked it so it didn't need a face scan. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're gonna. Well, he was there. I don't know.
Don't ask. But they were gonna grab his.
I assumed they were gonna hack it.
That's fair.
But since they got it when he was there, they did his facial recognition. My bigger question: what's that sphere and the point of it? Like,
the funhouse aspect of that thing was a fucking mess.
I don't understand. Like, this dude's like, I build the largest building in the world. It's gonna be a #1 tourist attraction. First half is all this shit. Second half's residential, and on top, there's a giant sphere with 4K ultra high def cameras everywhere and screens, and it just makes a big funhouse area. I was literally like, "What are we doing? What is this movie? Explain this to me."
Yeah, I have no idea. I just wish he would have been like, wait till you see the ticket prices for this, and just has this maniacal typewriter guy just clacking an old timey register in the back. That
also, I may have been confused, but the sleazy looking white guy who turns on him, he turned out he was the mole inside. Didn't they say he was the insurance adjuster?
Yeah.
He's just nope, I got a gun, I'm part of the gang. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? That was the guy here to insure the building.
Yeah. It was a fun mess, I guess.
Also, in 3, I don't believe I don't believe those mafia and mob members. It never really spells it out. I don't know if they're Yakuza or what the fuck we're doing here. But I don't think they have access to this fucking billionaire to be like, we're going to stop your building project and harass your workers if you don't give us all this money. I can understand them going to the construction foreman and being like, we'll shut you down if you don't skim some. But to essentially corner Jeff Bezos and be like, we're not going to let these Amazon packages go out unless you fucking pay us money. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you want to see a Rock movie, you're going to go see it and you'll have a fun time.
Also, was Duct Tape a producer on this movie?
Possibly one of the oddest keep coming back to moments.
But the weirdest actual moment, what I think might be the actual weirdest moment, I need you to maybe explain it to me. When they do the end of Die Hard moment, when he's walking out to get to him, John McClane has his gun taped on his back. All of a sudden, Rock's just here's a sword from underneath my shirt. Where did that come from? I did not follow.
It was like it had to have been in his pants because when his metal leg hit the ground, like the sword would hit too, so you wouldn't hear it ting.
But like he just kind of goes like this, and all of a sudden he has a sword in his hand. Like I don't see where it comes from or anything.
I would have loved it if they would have duct taped to the back.
Yeah, and like they split on the back, he just has a sword duct taped. Yeah, that would have been cool. Or if he just would have like lifted his leg and kicked, and the pant leg would have came out to reveal like he took the fake leg off and he just has a sword taped to it. And he just starts kick swording people. Would have been cool with that too.
Or he just aims his leg at somebody and it shoots off like a rocket and takes like 3 of them out.
It's very weird. It's a very inert movie. For as much as going on, like none of it feels tense or like there's any danger to any of it.
Yeah, it's just a par for the course rock movie at this point. And it's sad that he's getting these big projects made for such a mediocre movie.
Was it a big project? I mean, I didn't look at like the budget or anything, but I can't imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine just the characters alone. Like you got Neve Campbell in there, the Leprechaun from American Gods. I don't remember any other people, but I'm sure they were important.
There might be, but they're doing that thing that, especially Legendary does it, but a lot of companies, Marvel's been doing it lately too, where like you set a lot of it in China and you make Chinese actors
that's just
be in
from
it.
The kickbacks, like
yeah, just so you can get a bigger
I'm
like
pretty
box
sure like it's like. Well, no, I think it's like they pay like almost $750 million just to like. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's $250 million just for you putting a movie in there. Just because then they don't have to put it in their country as a foreign film because it was shot there. It's so ridiculous. That whole loophole bullshit is something else. So, if you saw Skyscraper, way to go. I'm sure you had a great time because you wanted to see that movie.
The only thing that
all the big parts are in the trailer.
Yeah, and they basically function throughout the trailer in the exact way they happen in the movie. It was literally like they just watched the movie and cut like 10-second pieces out to be like, yeah, we'll just do it this way. Shock, The Rock gets out of the skyscraper after getting back in, and everyone lives happily ever after, except the bad guys.
That was the part that surprised me, is that he got out of the tower and then all that stuff went on. I was like, oh, well, he'll probably... I was like, well, also, that sets up everything that was in the trailer.
Let's go back for a minute to the end in the House of Mirrors. If I was having a face-to-face conversation and then was like, I'm behind you, you would have heard my voice behind you the whole time. Like, there's no way I would have snuck up behind you because you.
That's why it was a circle. That's why it's a fucking pearl.
So you fucking
can't hear it. There's no bouncing off. Yeah, it is something else. So, from there we went to Netflix with How It Ends with
Ghost Dog,
and the one dude from Divergent.
Yeah, I saw like he's in the first shot and I was like, who is that guy? I know him, and I had to pause it and be like, oh yeah, he's in that fucking Divergent movie.
No. This is what happened. Is like, it was like the first shot. I was like, I know that guy. I know Luke told me who that guy was, and I was like, I hit the screen to see the notes from Prime since we've been using that so much lately. And I was like, God damn it, Netflix. So I had to fucking go to IMDb and look, yeah.
And then I was like, but I only saw Divergent. I didn't see the other ones. But he was also in like the last 2 Underworld movies. So like he's the guy who replaced Scott Speedman. Yeah.
I haven't seen the last 2 Underworld movies. I totally need to.
The last one's not great, but 4 was fucking dope. Like, she's like killing humans and stuff. Yeah.
I was about to ask if there were 4 or 5, because if there were 4, I've seen 3. No, I'm missing 4. I need to see 4 then, for sure.
There's 5, and the best one is the prequel. Michael Sheen and fucking Bill Nighy just goddamn chewing on that scenery in ancient Egypt or whatever. Shit is great.
Goddamn right.
Anyway, so did you like this movie?
So this
Ghost
was
Dog?
a fun movie.
Ghost Dog in the Apocalypse?
I mean, it's your average Netflix made movie. It's a run between theater quality and just straight to DVD.
I think it's theater quality. Like it looks like there's money in this movie and it's competently made.
Yes. The problem is the people that are in these movies aren't the draws that would necessitate a theater release, I guess.
You're telling me Ghost Dog's not a draw?
Ghost Dog would have been the draw, and considering he doesn't make it the entire movie, I think people would have been upset. Like, people got upset for Godzilla.
I don't think it would have been the same, but I thought it was cool because I haven't seen Forrest Whitaker like in a role that wasn't like a supporting role in a long time. You know, like when he showed up in like Rogue One, he's barely in it, and fucking he's got that weird respirator and stuff.
But he still felt very supportive in this one. He at no point I felt like he was a main character.
Well, thematically, yeah, perfect. He was just there to provide the foil to the Divergent guy and then teach him along the way before giving him his blessing. Yeah. But, I mean, he's more than a supporting character than, like, Nikki? Was that her name?
The mechanic chick?
I can't remember her name. It started with an N.
Ricky.
I can't remember. But yeah, she's very supporting. So like the movie's well made, it's fine. I like movies like this and the same kind of idea of like Cloverfield, where there's this bigger thing going on, but within it we're focused on these smaller people and what they're doing within it. You know, if this were a traditional movie.
Speaking of Cloverfield, like I was waiting for it to be Cloverfield Lane and like have that giant monster reveal at the end. Like it felt like it was leading that way, and like this movie side skirting a couple of those tropes really won me over. Like I don't mind this movie; it's a good movie, but yeah. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like the more like the character beats. You know, like if this had been a traditional like fucking like Roland Emmerich movie or whatever, you would have seen whatever happened and the waves coming in and crashing and breaking things down. But like it's much more intimate and smaller, and I like that. My problem with it is, and maybe I'm giving people too much credit, but I don't think society is going to break down within half a fucking day. Like, power goes off, nobody knows what's going on, and all of a sudden the dude's like pulling them over with a shotgun and be like, I'm going to murder you. Let's murder. I was like, no, not going to happen.
I give them 2 hours tops. Especially in today's climate. Today's climate, everybody's watching the Purge movies and everything, and they're like, oh, it's our fucking chance. Ain't nobody calling us. There's no power. Let's start shooting people.
Because, like, I buy, like, when he goes to see his friend in, like, a small town, I buy that a small town like that would, like, militia up to try and protect what's in their town from anyone coming through. I don't buy when, like, there's traps set on bridges for, like, trying to take people down or fucking, like, it's too steep of a turn immediately within this, you know, like the movie takes place over 5 days and basically society crumbles within that first day. It's very odd. Also, it bugged me, so I looked it up. It only takes 30 hours to get from Chicago to Seattle, and it took them 5 fucking days. Sure. I was like, what?
That's what I was going to talk to you about. I was like, we know these battles is because, like, we've driven across Nebraska or like South Dakota, where it takes 8 to 10 hours, and like how draining that is on a body. And I thought that was replicated rather well. I was like 5 days. Like, what are you taking fucking half-day naps in a car? No, nobody's doing that. Like,
it's like it would have taken a day and a half at most, especially with no one on the fucking road. Come on now.
Stay driving, getting fucking
also like
gas everywhere you could.
But like the part where like the fucking guy in the cop cruiser is attacking them, and then they turn on their lights and there's deer and they hit a tree. Like, they were only going like 5 miles an hour, but Forrest Whitaker's like, I broke my ribs, and it kills him later on. It's very odd.
Also, like, that goddamn radiator could have been swapped with any fucking car there. I'm pretty sure it's a GM engine, and she had just litters of GMs sitting around here. Even that Buick, you could have shipped out that radiator and just plugged it in.
Well, here's another question. Like, the radiator was leaking and that car wasn't running. Just get in the running cop car instead of towing your car. No, we got to use the running car to tow our broken car to get it fixed. Just get in the car that works. What the fuck? Come on now.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I liked it. Speaking of the character movies you thought of, when they were just in the car, like those moments reminded me a lot of Locke. Did you ever see Locke?
Yeah, okay. The Tom Hardy movie. Yeah.
And that's what I really fell in love with this movie. Like, I wish they would have done that a lot more. I know why they did everything else, but like those moments to me were the strongest, and I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, it's good. And it didn't bug me that we never figure out what happened. Although I don't know what happened at the end of the movie. Like, regardless
I think it was
of
just volcanoes.
What volcano? But like they posit a couple facts of like, it was a giant earthquake, or it was, a nuclear blast and an attack on our power grid. But then all of a sudden it's like literally like hell is chasing them, just wiping everything out, and they just race past it and it kind of ends. That's weird. Although you totally saw the part coming when like he gets back with this girl and you're like, oh, he has one bullet left in his gun. They made a point of that. He's going to have to shoot this guy because he's going to be a fucking creep going after his girl. Okay, we got there finally. That's the end of the movie. Cool. Like, it telegraphed the end very, very, very heavily.
Yeah, for sure. All right, movie. If you're watching Netflix, check it out. No. That's it. That's all I had for that one then.
Fair. I mean, we've seen a lot worse than that.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like the Netflix movies are steadily getting better, so I'm
no, they just, where they're going. At this point, they're just dropping so much that I'm only watching the ones that look halfway decent. Trust me, I watched Legend of a White-Tailed Hunter. It's not good. I watched 2 Netflix movies this week. Only one of them was good.
All right, touche. So then, from there, you rented The Endless on Prime, and how did you feel about that?
Well, this was me being proactive finally for once. There's a lot of times when I know you'll be like, how the fuck what is this? Where do you know this? Like, I hear a lot about movies running on the festival circuits and stuff from following the news. And I always fucking forget them by the time they come out. So, like, I made...
Oh, wait, hold on a second. To set everything up, is I get a fucking text message at goddamn midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. You're like, goddamn it, we're going to have to watch Event Horizon, aren't we? I was like, what? What the fuck's that even mean? And then you're like, oh, I just rented the movie. You have 2 days to watch it. I was like, gotcha.
Yeah, and I started thinking about
that's where I went into it. So
I forgot those conversations were tied. I was just thinking about Event Horizon, how fucking dope that movie is. Event Horizon's great, and don't you say a bad word about it.
No, you continue. Listen, I'll get to my half once I get to you. Continue on the path you were on.
Anyway, so I always forget stuff, and this is me trying to not forget stuff. I'd heard really good things coming out of this. And then I was like, oh, this is the third film by these guys that I've heard good things about, but forget to watch. So that's why I was like, we're doing this one for sure, so I don't fucking forget. Interestingly enough, their first film, which I'd heard about, was about two friends in a cabin trying to detox one of them. Characters in this film. It's a nice little extended universe, apparently. But I never watched it. And then the second movie I had heard about coming out at the festivals was called Spring. And it's about like a guy in Italy who starts dating like a squid monster or something. So I definitely wanted to see that, but forgot. And then I heard about this one. So yeah, I went in knowing it was about two brothers who escape from a UFO cult and go back. So at least I knew more going in than you did, probably. But yeah, that's me with this beginning of this film. How did you like it? Because I think you got bad things to say. It's a very indie movie, and I know you don't like indie movies.
So we're starting to talk about goddamn Event Horizon, and for the life of me, I don't think I've seen Event Horizon.
What?
So I believe we're gonna have to put that on the docket. Listen. I don't think I've seen Event Horizon, which made me have to go back and think about our Cloverfield paradox conversation we had, and like that got me all in the mindset for this movie.
So
I figured there was this. I mean, it was an uphill battle for it for sure. But no, I ended up really liking it. I like the storytelling side of it, and knowing that these creators have their other projects tied to this, like making their own little universe of stories, like really is really cool to find out after the fact. Like, I think I saw the trivia, like the second one there's a couple characters that tie to this movie as well. So
yeah, I believe the two brothers from this movie have a supporting role in their first movie, which is the two guys with the one handcuff detoxing. And the two leads are obviously, they wrote and directed the movie, cinematography, they did everything on it. It's interesting. It does weird things.
Hold on. If you are even mildly interesting, skip this portion because shit's gonna get spoiled at this point. But I'd say go rent it for sure. I did like it for sure.
Yeah, before I guess we kick everyone out for spoilers, just know baseline is there was like, what was it? Heaven's Gate? Was that the one that worshiped Haley Bob's comment? Basically, like kind of this quote unquote UFO cult. These two brothers got out when they were teenagers, have been living free for 10 years, and haven't quite assimilated back into like normal life. And the younger brother ends up getting a tape from the camp and kind of wants to go back. So to appease him, the older brother's like, we'll go for one day. And they go back and stuff starts happening. There's your small log line. If you don't care about spoilers, there's a giant Lovecraftian other being who's controlling time pods to sate his hunger or some shit. It's very odd where this movie ends up going. But once you reach that point where like he runs into that meth head who's like having a conversation with him while his body's also hanging in the cabin behind him, you're like, this movie's a little weird. I'm kind of down with it. But there's the weird unsettling, like, you get there and it's like I said, it's very indie. It's a lot of like it slowly builds there, like you get stuff of like the guy who's learning magic and talking about how he's going to take 1,000,000 years to master it, and then he starts doing weird magic tricks where like the ball doesn't come back, it throws in the air. And then they have some kind of pseudo-religious tug of war with the air. That's very intriguing. And then you run into like these weird time pods and, like bowing, time gets reset when you die, and you have to die within the time set allowed within the pods, because if you don't kill yourself and restart it, the creature will basically maul you to death to restart it. And the cult camp ends up like worshiping it like a god who gives them this gift, whereas the other people are kind of driven insane by it out there. And in the end, all that's happening, yes, and it's odd, but it's very much a meditation on family love and brotherhood and becoming your own person. There's a lot of themes of like religion and like what's the like the discussions of, you guys didn't understand this when you were a child, but now you're a man and you can make your own choices. The idea of, you're presented the idea of, Christianity, Catholicism, whatever views you are on what God is through your parents handing it down, and you might fall out of it, but as an adult, when you're more cognizant of the world, make your own decisions on what this means to you. It even says it means something, different to everyone. The camp leaders, like, to me, it's that equation, to you, it could be photography. It's whatever you take from it. You have to make these decisions yourself. So I think there's some really interesting ideas and themes within there, but it also gets bogged down in the idea of just like, what is happening versus what thematically it means.
I thought it was pretty cool. Just the whole, I like the monster aspect of it. I wish we would have seen a little bit more on the monster. I understand why they didn't do that, obviously, because their budget was smaller, but I thought it was cool. The little.
Plus, I was going to say, there's the idea, like, obviously, they quote Lovecraft at the beginning of the film. It's a quote right there. And Lovecraft has always talked about, like, the imperceptible horrors and how your brain doesn't function right. And there's even a story of where, like, like the thing in the creature they fear in the story is just color, and they can't understand it because all they see is color, which the counselor, comprehends. It says that even at one point, he's like, what if it's it's defined by a color that our eye cones can't even see, So like, it ties into this imperceptible horror as opposed to big monster with fangs kind of thing.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, now that you point out those little bits, it's like a little bit smarter than I was even getting credit for. I like the little bits where it seemed like they were kind of telling the future through their art. I don't know if that's just because that's how many lives they lived, and like they were just showing a different time that they had done something. I think when she showed him the picture of the gun nut being on fire, I'm sure that has happened before. But like all that, the artistic side of the worship to the god, like, really enjoyed all that stuff. And then the one lady that was trying to find her husband that was not okay with the whole thing and just waiting around for her husband. Cool shit.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. It's definitely like, you can see they have a voice and a tone, and they, they tell. I'm interested what's going to happen when these guys get a little more money, Yeah,
for sure.
So
sure. So yeah, that's about that. Did you have anything else you want to add to that one?
No, it's interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to going back and trying out some of their other stuff, though, now that I remember.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd be down for that. So on to the grand finale.
Yeah.
I was about to skip this one, and you forced my hand to watch this so we could talk about this tonight. I'm mostly interested in talking about this because where we left last week, you were not at all excited about this movie anymore because you had not grown up with Mr. Rogers, and you were freaked out by the puppet things. And going into this movie, I realized I had only a little limited experience with Mr. Rogers. Like, I maybe caught a handful of episodes when I was young.
Like, I definitely, there's the idea of, cultural osmosis. You learn of things through other things and references and stuff. But I know I've seen a few episodes of Mr. Rogers. Like, it's just certain parts of it are ingrained much more deeply through homage and spoofs and stuff that, like from other stuff. But I definitely remember, fucking Mr. Rogers on PBS after Sesame Street. All kids saw it. I just don't think I have any memory attachment from that time. Like, I don't remember watching Mr. Rogers. Like, I don't remember sitting down and watching this episode and remembering stuff. But yeah, I definitely sent you a text. I was like, fuck you. And you were like, why? And you said you're going to skip it. And your choice was, do you want me to see it or do you just want to tear it apart? And I made you see it because I absolutely fucking love this movie and I was a bawling mess by the end of it.
So to set this up even more is I've been trying to find a way to see this movie for like the last month because I've been in places where I could see the movie. There were a couple weekends when I'd have to go out of town to catch up one of the movies that we'd watched this last week. And it was playing at the theater and I was going to catch a double, but just never made it to it. And then this weekend, it was between this or Sorry for Bother You. And since Sorry for Bother You was such a more limited release, I was like, you know what, I'll go with that. I'll bite that bullet since I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to see that at all. So, yeah, I really fucking love this documentary. Like,
yeah, it's so good.
I was okay. Leading into I'm so appreciative of you making me see this movie. That all the dominoes that fell in place leading into it, like going to the theater, I held the door for a whole family. They were going to see Jurassic Park. To hell with them. They were going to go see that awful dinosaur movie. Whatever. Then I followed this little group of white-haired old ladies. There were 3 of them. They asked me where I wanted to sit, and I was like, I don't know, wherever you guys want to sit. I'll not near you guys, I guess. So I sat a couple rows behind them, and like there were a couple points in the movies, like I realized they remembered all that shit happening. I was like, that's fucking wild. Like the Nixon shit, like they fucking lost it because they remember that time. Like that's when they were young, and it was just so fucking mind blowing. I didn't realize this whole thing was 50 years old at this point. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was weirdly tripped out a little bit too, because like when I went, like I had to go to Jordan Creek to see it, and apparently they have reserved seating now. Sure, so they were like, the green's available, the X's are crossed out, and I was like, the fuck, there's a lot of people in this showing, and like I had to sit in like the first 2 rows, like to get a seat that. And, like, there was a good chunk of, like, it was definitely older people, like you said, some white-haired ladies and some guys, but, like, I was just engrossed from the beginning. Like, and I just went with that ride, by the point when, fucking he got upset about segregation at pools and stuff, and he had this black castmate come and put his feet in the waiting pool with him. I was like, fuck yeah, Mr. Rogers. And then when Mr. Rogers was like,
I didn't even know the black castmate was gay. In the fact that it sucked because he just wanted his friend to be himself, but he knew he couldn't be himself on camera because he wouldn't be a character on the show. For being 50 fucking years old, like that show did so much for that time, let alone being so fucking relevant nowadays. Like.
Yeah, like, but yeah, I mean, just follow it. There was that when like he got pissed and came back out of retirement because like kids were getting hurt emulating superheroes. And he's like,
"Oh my god, yes!"
These kids. But then by the point, like, by the time it reached him doing the interview on the show with the kid in the wheelchair to like the end. Like it was just like I just kept welling up. Like it's just so it's too much. It's so like because in the end, like that's who fucking like Fred Rogers was. He was that man who was just like, you got to teach kids early so we don't repress these feelings and be fucking good to everybody. And yeah, you're special. And you know, it's infuriating to see those Fox News segments where they were like, Fred Rogers ruined a generation because all these kids are spoiled now because he said they're special. Well, no, fucking yeah, everyone is special. Like, but that doesn't mean you deserve a fucking award or anything. It just means like who you are because God made you who you are. You know, it's and like it's just it's so relevant in the world we're in today where, you know, everyone's just so antagonistic and everything to watch this movie and be like, no, we're all neighbors here. Fucking do right by everyone else and they'll do right by you. And just fucking love. That's all that we need to do. It's great.
He himself had to have been one of the most wholesome people in the world teaching this message for the last 50 years. Like, fucking, what a true legend and hero himself. Like, fuck yeah, that guy.
Fuck yeah. And, like...
That's how I knew, like, we've got something special with this. Like, all the things that lined up to make this show... Like, this show seems like such a mundane thing. I'm sure we're going to see down the road in, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes. Just mark my words. I bet you, like, we reference this show and how we saw something and how we made something better. Like, the wild trip we're on at this point, like, this was such a much-needed reprieve, like, to just get everything centered and just fucking, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, it was amazing to watch, like, the shit he was trying to do with that show. Where, like, you know, the day Bobby Kennedy was assassinated, he was just like, what's the word assassinate me? And he's teaching children because he knows they're hearing this word in context of their parents and adults and teachers using it and being upset and sad and scared, but not comprehending. So him being like, well, I'm going to use my block of time to try and explain this. And, you know, he never talked down to the children, but he talked in a way that they would understand, which is wholly fascinating.
And like him having that platform for so long, I didn't realize he was pastor, and like he had stopped for just a short while to do a seminary and whatnot, and like to come back at it and go for a little while and realize and think he had did everything, that he was just gonna go into syndication, whatever, and then the superhero thing coming, and then like he's like, fucking get back out there and like teaching them about divorce and all this stuff, and like actually talking and listening to children, like so much respect. And like to find out that at no point he thought he had any relevance or anybody gave a shit what he was doing, and there was just, he had to have been surrounded by people that were like, you're fucking doing incredible shit all the time. Like,
yeah, well, they even talked
all you're
about,
doing
like,
is a fucking puppet show on TV. Like,
you know, they even talked about how, like, you know, he was done doing it, and then like 9/11 happened. They literally had to pull him in for PSAs to be like, the world needs you to try and explain this right now. And to see the struggle he went through, you know, to see this attack on humanity and like try and make sense of it, it was like heartbreaking because you saw he didn't expect that, you know, like he didn't see that could happen.
But then going back, like when they did do the Challenger explosion, like he was there for that, but like this was on such a grander scale because we were so connected at the point of 9/11 that if Challenger had happened, it would have had a bigger impact. But like 9/11 was so complex, and for them to turn to him, this movie was so good. if you have a chance, I'm sure it's going to get pulled out of theaters in the next week or two. Get out there and see it. And fucking, you're going to bawl your eyes out because you need it.
Yeah, but it's just such a heartwarming like take on like, you know, they talked to pretty much everyone's alive who worked with him, and you know, like there was just like this love and understanding of humanity within it, and like you're right, it's just needed right now, you know.
Yeah, for sure. The real main question that I wanted to ask you though is, how do you feel about the tiger now?
Those puppets never bothered me. I just said in general, puppets bother me. Those ones are less creepier than like, I'm telling you, the ones that really bug me are the fucking
the Fraggle Rock, yeah.
The Fraggle Rock fuckers. They're in like the Crystal Skull and Labyrinth. They're all fucking disgusting and weird, and they look like wrinkly old people, and I don't like it.
All right. No, but I, the fact that he held on to that tiger one for so long, like how that was like his first introduction on TV, and like he just was like, that was his persona, and like,
and yeah, in the way he, you know, since he had to be Mr. Rogers, that he had to use those puppets to like channel his other things. You know, the king held his aggression, and the witch had his complaints, and Daniel was the closest to him. You know, that's where he put all his fears and the things he was scared of not being able to live up to. Super interesting. Also, it's kind of weird though to be like his family being like, yeah, he'd do the voices at the dinner table and shit because he did saying those things. Plus,
yeah.
Plus, there's just some pimp parts in the movie when he's like running through New York and then breakdancing and stuff. I was like, fuck yeah, Mr. Rogers, let's do this.
Yes. So fucking cool shit. Like, especially the wheelchair moment, like, that shit. In the fucking credits, like,
oh, when the kid
he hadn't seen him since I was like, oh, I can't fucking believe this. He just fucking waterworks all over again. He didn't give a fuck who was in front of him. He was climbing over the fucking crowd to be like, that's my fucking friend. And like, what a great thing that we had him on our planet for as little time as we did. Like, what a fucking champion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It goes through it obviously doesn't touch much on the personal life, but that's because apparently he was very closed off that way. You know, like his personal life was his personal life, but you know, like his kids weren't coming out and being like, he beat me, or you know, he cheated on his wife. Like he's just a super wholesome dude who probably had a lot of pressure on him, and that he's probably putting on it himself. It'll be interesting to see. I guess I think it's next year is the biopic is coming out. So
yeah, I'm fucking in. I gotta see it now.
And you know, you pick like they you know, they picked Tom Hanks to play him. I can't think of it anywhere else who is probably as wholesome on that level, you know.
Yeah, so. That's awesome. Fuck yeah. So that's gonna do it for this week. What are we watching next week then?
Do you want to see The Equalizer?
I am going to see Equalizer 2, so let's put it on the list.
Okay, I'm not watching the first one, but I'll go see the second one.
Nice. I'm gonna love recapping the first one for you.
And then we have to go see Unfriended. I
don't know if Unfriended's coming around me.
It's a Blumhouse horror movie. It's gonna fucking open in like 3,000 theaters.
I know. I was just making excuses. I really don't want to see it.
Did you ever see the first one?
Tired of those movies. No, I have. Didn't it come out last year, like right around Happy Death Day? Like around this time?
No, it was like 2 years ago.
Okay.
But it's haunted Skype, and it's fucking awesome. So we'll watch that. No, I'm not watching Mamma Mia. Although, did you know the first one made $600 million?
No, I've never seen the first one, but I kind of want to see the second one and then go back and watch the first one.
Well, you can do that. You have Movie Pass still. I don't know that I want to waste one of my movies on that. For sure, we'll watch
3 movies a week.
I know, but I don't know I want to watch on Mamma Mia. I'll watch Unfriended twice.
Fair enough.
So Equalizer 2, Unfriended. It sounds like earlier you committed to putting Event Horizon on that list, so
we can do that. Yeah. Is that streaming anywhere, or are we gonna have to rent that?
Oh no, it's on Prime. It is on my list on Prime even.
Oh no, I don't think Unfriended is coming around me.
Oh no, how are you not getting Unfriended?
Fuck if I know, but it's showing up for Jordan Creek, but it's not for Mason City. Oh, sorry to bother you at Jordan Creek, so sorry to bother you. Be next week.
Yeah, I'll catch that. No, it's a lot of theaters don't post their full schedules till Wednesday anyway, so we'll see. Right. If not, we'll figure some more stuff out. Okay. Yeah, we'll solidify something because I'm sure there's. I'm thinking. Don't give me that look. Don't give me that look.
I'm inquisitive. I'm wondering what you're thinking.
The inquisitive thing is like that you should be is like, remember I planned out like 6 months of this year. Like we're past that, and I haven't figured out the rest of the year yet. Is where we are. We've been rolling on empty for about 4 weeks now. Like I haven't had it planned. Nice. I'm definitely thinking it's close to Twin Peaks time. We're getting real close to that.
We gotta. Yeah, I'm ready for it. Now with Mr. Rogers' reprieve, yeah, I'm ready for some Twin Peaks action.
But we'll figure it out. We'll get an updated list out this week and figure something out once we actually figure out what we want. Because like there's shit I want to rent on Prime like that we can throw on there. Okay. You were never really, or I was never really here. You were never really here. The Joaquin Phoenix movie that I didn't get to the indie theater to see is on Prime now.
Oh, okay.
Like I really want to watch that.
I'll probably have to see Transylvania 3 because I'm babysitting my nephews, so I'll probably take them to that.
Good for you. I haven't seen the first two. I can't follow the story. So
what? You should go into it blind. It's pretty great.
And there is like, I'm trying to figure out when it makes sense to do it, but like I'm gonna make you watch The Raid soon since you've never seen it.
Sure.
And just have your mind be fucking blown.
I'm excited because this is the one that you're like, this is number one, and I'm pretty sure you'll kill me if I don't like it. So
I will. Have you seen like the advertising for that shitty Mark Wahlberg movie that's coming out soon? Mile 22 or whatever?
Mile 22? You mean the great Mark Wahlberg one that's coming out?
Do you know how much like I will go see that because the dude from The Raid is in it? And I'm like, cool, let's do this. That dude's awesome.
That being said, all those trailers are increasingly make that look so terrible.
I always just like they show up on my Twitter feed, but like I'm like scrolling through real fast, and like within like the first like millisecond, I was like, shit, is that Eco? I gotta watch the trailer now, and it's like, it is cool. I'm in now.
Nice. So yeah, we'll get you an updated list at some point this weekend, but most likely it's going to be Equalizer 2. Sorry to bother you.
Event
Horizon, and probably another couple scattered in there just because we're catching up on stuff.
How did you never see Event Horizon? I don't understand this.
See, I'm sure I'm going to get into it and be like, oh yeah, I've seen this one, but I'm sure it's got lodged in the movies from the 90s.
It's Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne in space. How have you not seen Event Horizon?
See, I can only think of Sunshine.
Sunshine's really good too.
I remember seeing it with you, and I think I hated it.
It's on Prime. Let's do a double feature of Event Horizon and Sunshine.
You know what? Fine. I'm just warning you. It's probably Sunshine's probably gonna get ripped apart for me.
That's fine. I have problems with the third act. We'll get into that next week. But
nice. Looking forward to it now.
Peace and pineapples, people. I'm ready to smoke.
Peace. Love you, kids. We'll catch you next week.